History is written by the victors. This is an adage commonly attributed to Winston Churchill, although it has most likely been around since history itself. While the adage is referring to the victors of a war, it can also be applied to a different kind of war, one much closer to home, the war of corporate branding. Lego wasn't the first toy building brick, Oreo isn't the first chocolate cream cookie, and Stumble Guys isn't the first battle royale with Mario Party inspired minigames. But they are the ones we know and buy today. But before Stumble Guys, there was another. For every ripoff that manages to overtake those before it, there are actually thousands that try and fail miserably. Normally, ripoffs of something never even get a fraction of the success. But Stumble Guys isn't normal. This is the rare 1 in a million occurrence where a ripoff ultimately goes on to surpass the original. But how? How did Stumble Guys go from just another ripoff of Fall Guys to a globally known game, partnering with giant companies like Hot Wheels, the NFL, Rabbids, Nerf, Barbie, Monopoly, SpongeBob, and Mr. Beast? But to get to the bottom of Stumble Guys' success, we first have to talk about the game that it spawned from. The year 2020 was seeing a decline in the Battle Royale subgenre that came to prevalence by the end of the 2010s. Games like Fortnite, while still going strong, was steadily losing players as the mystique of Chapter 2 was wearing off. If you were to ask a random passerby about the state of the genre, the average person would probably claim that Battle Royale was dying. But in August of that year, Fall Guys would become the newest and most refreshing take on the genre, taking its Mario Party and Wipeout inspired minigames and connecting them with the underlying thread of Battle Royale. It took two previously successful formulas and blended them together in a way that felt fresh. And more importantly, in a way that felt fresh to the Twitch livestream audience. Fall Guys was released with a very unusual strategy. Seeing the rise in viral games, especially during the pandemic, Mediatonic released Fall Guys by giving free download keys to streamers, not just to play the game themselves, but to also give download keys to their chat. This instilled a ton of interest in the game early on, not just by building a viewer base for the game, but by giving it an active player base before it even fully launched. And once the floodgates opened, all hell broke loose. The rise of Fall Guys can best be described as a tidal wave. As much like the impact of a tsunami, it all comes at once. Fall Guys was quickly averaging over 100,000 active users, and for a game that was just launched, that was unprecedented. Streamers would hop on the game with other streamers, creating these collaborations that were never possible up to this point. But all this success didn't come without a catch. With such rapid growth, the game would see an unpredictable rise of cheaters. In each and every match, it would be common for someone to turn on cheats and easily win the game. This was only made worse by the game's winning incentive. After winning the game, you would get a crown, which the player can spend on different cosmetic outfits. This made the prospect of winning every game possible very appealing to cheaters. This cheating problem would make the game virtually unplayable, as just one cheater in a lobby can spoil the experience for 59 other players. And even in the rare case when there wasn't cheaters in the lobby, once you play the game long enough, you get used to the 24 different minigames. You begin to detest the group minigames for being random chance. While memes like going after Yellow Team helps bring the community together, it also made being a member of the Yellow Team a death sentence. Imagine losing 1/3 of the games you played just by randomly being assigned to this team. And new players would have a harder time getting into it if they were late to the party. When the game finally did get a notable update, over 2 months after launch, Season 2 was underwhelming at best. While the update finally started to deal with the hacking problem, it didn't do as well in terms of adding new content. Introducing 4 new minigames and a 5th one halfway through the season, it just wasn't enough to keep people playing. At its core, despite such rapid success, the Fall Guys team didn't really capitalize on it, and they weren't really able to with the short amount of time they had. The wave died down. Comparing Fall Guys to Fortnite, after it rose to relevancy, it maintained its platform through the use of consistent updates. Every 2 weeks there would be a new map change, or item, or weapon, and that kept people playing. With Fall Guys, what you saw was what you got, And I don't think I even need to mention that at the peak of its success, Fall Guys was usurped by another stream-friendly social game that would reach new heights. And in the middle of the pandemic, Among Us was just the better social game. The most relevant Fall Guys has been since its heyday was nearly 2 full years later, in June of 2022 when the game went free to play. And it's funny that I chose to compare Fall Guys to Fortnite earlier, as this happened after Epic Games went on to buy their developers, Mediatonic, in March of 2021. But while Fall Guys was on its perpetual fall, it would be a few years until another game came along to fully replace it. Stumble Guys had already been released as early as September 2020 on the Google Play Store, but it wouldn't see worldwide appeal until early 2022, before ultimately overtaking Fall Guys once and for all by the end of the year. When a game gets popular, one of two things happens in the mobile game market. The game either gets a mobile release, or opportunistic mobile game developers take making it into their own hands. In other words, they make ripoffs. In the beginning, Stumble Guys was just one of many Fall Guys ripoffs, alongside titles like Run Guys, Guys Are Falling, Fall.io, Run Royale 3D, Soda Guys, and Fall Down Challenge. But there were a number of factors that led to Stumble Guys becoming the de facto Fall Guys alternative. Firstly, Fall Guys didn't have a mobile port. In 2020, Chinese publisher Bilibili gained the rights to a mobile release, but that never came to fruition. I'm sure Epic Games would have published one if it weren't for its lawsuit with Apple, kneecapping their reach and killing their prospects of making a port. This already gave Stumble Guys a leg up, as it wasn't competing with the original game, at least not at first. You might not know this, but mobile games are the silent majority of people who play games. Everyone has a smartphone, after all. Looking at the biggest game of all time, 41% of Minecraft's yearly revenue comes from mobile devices, with the other 59% being split between the Java version, PC's Bedrock Edition, and consoles. Basically, once Stumble Guys was competing with other ripoffs, it had the entire mobile market to itself. It already won. Compared to the ripoffs, it was the most featured game, with its own battle pass, numerous different mini-games, a party system, and cosmetics all from the get-go. And while it had pay-to-win abilities like punching locked away in the paid battle pass, the game being pay-to-win also made them a ton of money. And while you can criticize the shameless implementation of these paid mechanics, many find it a lot easier to just make fun of them, specifically YouTubers. Paying to attain and abuse these pay-to-win aspects of the game was good content, but it also gave Stumble Guys a lot of attention. Basically, it's free promotion. Just like how Fall Guys used Twitch culture to get off the ground, Stumble Guys had support from YouTubers making videos on it, whether it's because they wanted to, or for monetary gain. Stumble Guys would begin working with YouTubers through direct sponsorships, creator codes, or their Stumble Partner program, taking and expanding the growth method. Stumble Guys also went free to play on Steam on April 1st of 2022, at a time when Fall Guys still costed $20, giving yet another edge to the up-and-comer. Even though Fall Guys had more levels and variety, the accessibility of Stumble Guys was just unmatched. By the end of the year, Fall Guys was at its lowest point, its Steam numbers flatlining to about 5,000 after Epic Games pulled it out and confined it to the Epic Games launcher. Meanwhile, Stumble Guys was at its most explosive period yet. And after it was already in the public consciousness, that's when the collabs started. The first collaboration was with Hot Wheels, starting on December 15th, 2022, and they would only get crazier from there. The NFL, Rabbids, Nerf, Barbie, Mr. Beast, and Monopoly collaborations would occur in 2023, a new collaboration coming with each and every little update. Now, Fall Guys itself is no stranger to collaborations. Cuphead, Sonic, Invincible, Encanto, those are some pretty big names. I guess that's one good thing about the Epic Games bio. They've even partnered with Among Us, the game that accidentally stole their thunder in the first place. and SpongeBob, who has also colluded with the enemy. This man must be stopped! But at the same time, Fall Guys was also seeing the least amount of new content in years, going from November of 2022 all the way to May the next year before receiving a single update. Stumble Guys used Fortnite's collaboration strategy to eventually overtake Fall Guys, which all comes together in a strange way. In 2017, Epic Games beat PUBG with its constant updates and stayed ahead with its collaborations. And over 5 years later, Stumble Guys would use those same techniques to overtake Fall Guys, leaving it in the same position as PUBG all those years ago. Fall Guys was finally dead. And Stumble Guys would come out as the king of Battle Royale party games. Even after numerous updates and its own collaborations, Fall Guys would never really catch up, and aside from the occasional big update, remains forgotten by the general public, almost erased from history. The thing that LEGO, Oreo, and Stumble Guys all have in common isn't just the fact that they could be considered ripoffs, but the fact that they took an idea and shaped it into a better version, whether it's in the form of marketability, quality, or consistency. And those are the products that go on to make history. After all, history is written by the victors.